And ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another Roto Hackers podcast. We are the unauthorized reporters of fantasy football news and information. My name is AJ Herschel, also known as The Kid. We are here with Judah Buddha and oh boy, here we go. It's Jared. Okay,
that's the highest you've gotten.
Okay, I got to do it early in the day. I can't do it tonight. Otherwise, I'm off. So, gentlemen, how was Thursday night for you? Did you guys have anyone going on Thursday? Any Chargers? Any Raiders? Judah Buddha, you got anyone?
I'm playing this guy. He's trying to put up a fight. He's barely got any guys that are healthy or not on bye. So my opponent had Henry going, and I had Henry on my bench in another league. But thank goodness I just traded for Jacobs in one league. I already had him in another. Liking me some Jacobs, man. I was worried at the beginning. That big touchdown really helped.
Nice.
Yeah,
Jared, what about you?
Yeah, I had a lot of stuff going. I had several, maybe five or six leagues of Josh Jacobs, a couple of Melvin Gordon, a bunch of Hunter Henry, 2 of Keenan Allen, which he got a dozen points, which is better than he has been doing. So overall it was really good. The only one that killed me was I had 2 leagues where I didn't really have a good option at quarterback, and so I started Rivers. And I will not do that. I will not do that again. He looks like Brett Favre, and I mean 2019 Brett Favre. If he came back and played today, he is just a guy throwing a football up in a general direction of a receiver. He looks so bad. Like the Chargers should have pulled the plug on him a couple years ago, because you could already see, he just wasn't able to have any consistency. He could have good games once in a while, but basically anytime they would play a good team, you knew that they had or good defense, they had no shot. And now it's just my goodness. It
doesn't help that his offensive line could not protect him for more than 3 seconds last game. That was painful.
No, yeah, the line was terrible too. Maybe if he's got a ton of time to throw, but he just doesn't he's just not gonna he's just gonna sling it. That last drive too, I think they had at least 2 timeouts. Yeah. I think maybe they had all 3.
They had all 3, yeah.
And he didn't seem to understand that he didn't have to try to pick up 40 yards on every play, So that was just what he was going to do. He was going to chunk it up there. So, yeah, no more Phillip Rivers. Hopefully he doesn't kill me in those 2 leagues. One of those 2, I had Gordon going too. So he basically what the points that Rivers, Allen, and Gordon were combined projected to get, they still got more than that because of Melvin Gordon. But anyway.
How about you, AJ?
It was kind of funny. I had one league where basically I was down 53-0 after Thursday, and then I realized the guy had started Tyrell, Mike, Hunter Henry, Melvin Gordon, and Keenan Allen all in the same game. So I'm like, well, half your roster's gone now, so
yeah,
I guess it works out. I had Gordon in one league, I had Allen. I didn't have a lot of Chargers and Raiders, I noticed, so it didn't do that much, but I don't know. I needed one league where I needed Melvin Gordon to do something, and his 20 points covered Allen, who hit under my projection in a non-PPR league. So that covered that. So I should hopefully be okay there. So things pretty much balanced out.
What did Allen get in a non-PPR league?
8.5. Yeah. So it was okay, but yeah, I needed him there because it's a 3 wide receiver league, and then you have another flex spot. So I needed him to do something finally this week. And he did fine. So it worked out. So as it's become Saturday tradition, we're moving on to your stardoms and situms for the week. And so does either one of you want to go first? Either of you have a hot take or anything that you'd want to throw out there? Start sit.
I've got a dilemma. I've got George Kittle everywhere. What? Am I missing?
You said you have a dilemma.
Yeah. Okay. So George Kittle. I've got him almost every league, and I don't know whether or not to, because he's a Monday game.
Yeah.
I'm looking at other tight ends on the waiver wire, or I'm just I've got I mean, like, I guess I could go with Hollister, but that just feels like, man, if Kittle goes, he's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Way better than Hollister. So I don't know.
Go your guy Gesicki.
Start sit. Well, I could do Gesicki, but I mean, I could do a couple tight ends, that are playing on Sunday. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think about excuse me, playing George Kittle?
Yeah, that's a tough one because what makes it so tough is, like you said, the fact that it's a Monday night game. So I only have him, ended up having him, because I ended up trading him in a bunch of leagues, and so I think I only have him in one or two, and I don't know. I'll wait and see how it's trending tomorrow. If it looks like he's going to play, or if they think it's more likely than not that he's going to play, then I'll probably gamble, and then if he doesn't, maybe pick up Hollister and throw him in. Otherwise, I've got. I think Gerald Everett's my backup in that league where I have him. I feel okay about him. Pittsburgh's not particularly good against tight ends, I don't think. And with Brandon Cooks being out and just Pittsburgh having a good secondary in general, I'm thinking it's going to be one of those games where they don't really try to throw the ball down the field as much. So I think, like as always, it kind of depends on your options. But man, Seattle's so bad against tight ends, and Kittle's so good. Like, it's painful to have to, leave him on your bench. It's painful either way. So,
yeah, it's kind of funny. This is a dilemma that I only have in one league, because I have one league with Kittle, one league with Ingram, and I think 5 leagues with Kelsey. Because I love him so much. And I had the habit of I think I got the 3rd pick as my highest pick, and everything I got after that was 5 or under. And so I just take like Hopkins and then Kelsey back to back or something like that. So Kittle, the last report I actually saw on him, which I forgot to check the news first, but he's currently in doubt for week 10 against Seattle, according to NBC Sports, which worries me a lot, because I have him in one league, and that one league, I don't know if I'm able to drop you in. So for me, I don't know if it's even worth the risk going into Monday with a guy who at this point I just think is doubtful. So,
so what he has I think what they've narrowed it down to is a bone bruise.
Ugh.
So because they did an MRI and there's nothing structural. It's just he's got a bone bruise, so it may come down to pain tolerance. And if it comes down to pain tolerance, you're talking about beast man here, man. This guy will play through it. So I don't. The doubtful tag is like it just reflects the fact that he hasn't been to practice yet.
Doubtful's worse than questionable, though, because questionable you can still play and they might end up playing. Doubtful, there's next to nothing.
And I don't think he has the doubtful tag. I think that they were just saying he's doubtful.
Yeah, he's in doubt. They haven't officially given him that yet.
Yeah, he's still questionable.
So I don't know. Okay, so you guys are sounds like you guys are saying wait and see, but probably got to sit him.
Well, I would wait till tomorrow, because I would wait till tomorrow morning and see what they say. Because sometimes they'll, Ian Rappaport or somebody will give an update on kind of, what the thinking is of whether or not he's going to be able to. So I would just wait till then and see.
Okay.
Jared, you got anyone you want to bring up for us?
Yeah, I'm going to have to gamble on some guys at receiver this week. I've got receivers on a bye. So I'm basically looking for guys who are, against those gift-giving secondaries like Tampa Bay and Miami. So So I'm playing a good bit of Zach Pascal for the Colts.
Yeah,
that was it worries me because if the Colts can run, they may not necessarily want to throw, especially if Jacoby Brissett's not in there. Eric Ebron has been, had a meeting with the coach this week. He's wanting to get more targets. Maybe they, try to grease the squeaky wheel with him. So I don't I don't feel great about Zach Pascal, but he's by far the Colts' best option at receiver, and they're playing the Dolphins. And so and I don't have a lot of better choices. And so I'm going with him. Another guy that I feel good about, he just wasn't, of course, as available as Pascal, because Pascal's really just sort of a fill-in while T.Y.'s out, is Cristian Kirk, who I've liked, this year. It's not just like a 1 week thing. He's a guy that's had a pretty good floor for most of the year. He got hurt and missed some time. He missed 3 weeks, and then last week they were playing San Francisco, so he had a terrible game. 2 catches for 8 yards. But in 3 of his 5 other games, he's been basically at like 11 points or more. Those other 2 games, he was at like 6 and 8 or 9. So he's a guy that's got a good floor, and it's Tampa Bay. They can't defend the pass. I don't think anybody's really going to compete with him, there in Arizona for targets. Tampa Bay's pretty good against the run, so I think they'll be able to slow down Arizona's run and force him to throw a little bit. So I think Cristian Kirk is in for his biggest game of the year. If it's not going to come in this one, then I don't know when it's going to come. But I think he probably has a career day.
Wow, that's big to hear for me, because I need to decide between him and Stephon Diggs in a league on who I'm starting. So
I think I'd start Stephon Diggs.
That's the thing. Diggs, the thing with Diggs is that he's either going to put up 20 and actually do well, or Dalvin Cook could just run all over Dallas if Vikings line holds up, and then it just becomes Vikings run game. I feel like they're like the Colts.
They're not going to be able to run all over Dallas. Dallas has gotten
they've got a good run defense, but I don't think they're not going to be scared of that.
That's a tough one, because
they just got another lineman back.
It's tough because Dallas's secondary has been pretty good, and you think about that game when the Packers went into Dallas. They weren't able to throw, and Aaron Jones just ran all over him. So, that is actually a tough one. That is a tough choice, because obviously Diggs is the better player, but
Tampa,
but Tampa, Cristian Kirk and Tampa,
Yeah.
So
you playing both? What's your other?
I got to stick with. I got to go. Oh well, I've got Kupp and Godwin, so they're starting.
Oh yeah. You gotta go with them.
Yeah. Let's roll dice.
Thomas H here has got 2 questions for us. Welcome to the show. He's got, so Mahomes is back. It's obviously hard to sit him even if he isn't 100%, but his other option is Jameis Winston in Arizona, which is a great matchup. Advice. Ooh boy. Wants to take this one first. Oh, Jared, I think.
Yeah, I'll take that one. I've got to play Jameis Winston in one league. He's my best option there, but Patrick Mahomes playing in Tennessee. Tennessee's very forgiving against the pass. There's no way, because with Arizona, Jameis Winston should have a good day, but keep in mind that bad Jameis Winston can show up at any time. Like it doesn't matter the opponent. Like Jameis Winston's biggest obstacle is not the opponent. Jameis Winston's biggest obstacle is Jameis Winston. Yep. So if you've got a Patrick Mahomes, I would not roll the dice on Jameis on that one.
Although you are sort of rolling the dice with Patrick Mahomes, because he has like a 20% chance of re-injuring his knee. Like that's one of the biggest problems with the patella, is that once you stretch it out like that, your kneecap can slip off again, depending on where you get hit. Now, I don't think it's good. I mean, it's just percentage game, I think he's going to be. I think he's going to go off. I think it's probably going to be like his biggest game of so far. But it is kind of scary thinking that he could also be carted off.
That's a good point. So, what's your advice, Judah Buddha? Start Mahomes then?
Oh, I'm starting Mahomes. I'm going
straight up Mahomes. I like how he gives the counter argument for it, but he's like,
right?
Yeah, no, Patrick Mahomes for sure. Are you crazy?
Exactly. I don't play fantasy to win. I play to watch these guys like on my bench and then on the field. These guys. I mean, not on my bench. I watch these guys who like I have in my game playing on the field, and I just love watching Mahomes play. So
yeah,
I regret that in some ways I regret I didn't get more of him. I think the more logical side won over, which was good, I think, for my teams. But man, I don't like him play.
No, there was no way he was worth it. I mean, like he probably wasn't going to be worth it even if he had, a really strong year. But you think about, I mean, his first 3 weeks, it looked like you were going to get 2018 Patrick Mahomes, 27 points, 32 points, 28 points. And then, since then, 18 on nearly 20. And then he got injured at Denver and he's missed 2. I mean, so it definitely worked out for you. It's just,
I mean, kind of, but like in the leagues where I took Dak, I took Dak later, and say like I took, so I would have had to take him in the second round. And say like in the leagues I took Damian Williams. I would rather have Mahomes than Damian Williams.
Oh, sure.
So like I don't know. There is some regret there.
Yeah, there is some trade-off still, but I mean, think of the quarterbacks you still could have gotten later. Like Matthew Stafford's been playing out of his mind. Russell Wilson's an MVP candidate right now and doing great in fantasy football. I mean, there were still people you could get in later rounds.
Well, the funny one is, QB1 Lamar Jackson, who
that's what I mostly went with.
went undrafted or was like a 15th round pick in most leagues. So, and I remember Andy Barron saying at the start of the year that like he could be QB1, and Barron's was like, I don't mean a QB1, I mean the QB1, and he's right.
Yep. Thomas H has got one other question for us. Kareem Hunt's back. Do you think he's going to be fantasy relevant? Because Cleveland needs the help. So, Judah Buddha, you want to start us off with this one? Do you think Kareem's coming back?
Well, he's definitely coming back. I think he'll get a little run time. Look, even if, say, in the scenario where he takes a big portion of the run game, of the snaps, this is going to be his rusty game. Like, he's not going to do great. I predict, though, that he's going to have a touchdown. I'm sure he's going to vulture at least a touchdown. I don't think he's going to get – I don't believe he's going to ruin Chubb's value, or I don't think he's going to take away very much. I don't think he's going to take away more than Hilliard or whatever his name is. But – I think he, as a real life football player, in real life NFL, he's going to do a lot of good. I think for the Cleveland franchise, as far as winning games, I think he'll be something a little extra there. He'll give something a little extra, like where Hilliard was just vulture that I wish would go away.
So you're saying he's not going to be relevant then?
No, I mean, well, it depends what you mean by relevant. I think he'll have a touchdown. That's pretty good.
So, okay. So I'll transition the question to, like going forward, what is he? Is he good enough for a flex play, or is he just a handcuff?
I think he could probably be, I don't know. I think he would be an interesting, like what Sigmund Bloom calls the what the heck flex, like, throw him in there. He might get you 0. He might get you 12. But
so you don't expect him to be consistent?
No. What do you guys think?
I have no idea, and the reason that I have no idea is because it's Cleveland.
Yep, there you go.
And I don't know what they're going to do. They could give Kareem Hunt suddenly 70% of the carries, and that would not shock me. There's almost nothing that Cleveland could do that I'd be like, wow, I thought they would be smarter than that, this week people were asking Baker Mayfield about the whole shaving during the Broncos game thing because he came in with a beard and then he shaved the beard down to, he kept calling it a handlebar mustache. It's not a handlebar mustache. It's whatever like this is. I don't know if that's a Fu Manchu or what, but it's not handlebar, and everybody kept calling it that. So he shaved it down to that, and then after the game, he shaved it down to a mustache. And then when he was asked about that, because people are like, Cleveland's kind of a dumpster fire right now. Why is the quarterback who was drafted he looks like Randy Marsh from South Park. Why is the quarterback who's the number one pick 2 years ago doing all of this? Like, can you imagine the Patriots losing games and Tom Brady going in and, shaving a couple times, so people are wondering why. And they ask him, and he said that he didn't deserve the handlebar mustache. He shaved it off because he didn't deserve it, because he had been undefeated with it before or something like that. And like, what world are you living in here? You are in a multi-billion-dollar industry. You are the quarterback, the most important position for one of 32 franchise. What are you doing? So, and then like Odell Beckham, this was kind of like a lesser buried story of where I think Odell and Jarvis both had some cleat issue where they had cleats that weren't like the colors or something weren't NFL approved. So they were going to get tossed out of the game if they didn't, change them out or something.
Sleeves,
I mean, it's just like, you really can't with
it's
Cleveland.
a circus. It's a circus.
It's a circus. And and I kind of joke about the whole thing with Chubb, but if you want to gamble on what's going to happen with the Browns, go right ahead. But I have no idea. So, and the other thing this week was Baker saying that they're going to try to force feed Odell early.
Thanks for saying your game plan to every team you're going to go live the rest of the season.
I want to just see Buffalo just gets a pick six on the first play, and then the cornerback after the game is like, well, Baker, I read his comments, and he said he was going to force feed Odell. We did have him quadruple teamed, but we just took Baker at his word, and so that was how that pick six happened. So I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know.
I think when Odell wore the Joker cleats, that's what he ended up wearing for the because of the movie, and he had to get him switched out. I think that says it all. The Browns aren't a tragedy. It's a comedy. It's really just all a show. If it's sad when we talk about the Cleveland Browns and all we can talk about are their cleats and his ridiculous, weird-looking mustache, because the team isn't playing enough to even talk about football, the thing the franchise is supposed to be doing. So when it comes to Kareem Hunt, I'm just like, I don't know. If you've got him, maybe just see what he does this week, maybe the next 2 weeks if you're in a good playoff position, and then if he's not doing anything, then you can drop him. But I mean, Cleveland's offense is barely functioning at this point. I don't know if they need to work with the pieces they've got and get that stabilized first, or if Hunt could rejuvenate the offense, because Hunt hasn't played in nearly a full year. So, I mean, the Browns are just a mess. Yep. So I just keep him on the bench and see what on earth Freddie Kitchens does. I definitely wouldn't start him this week. And then depending on what happens this week, we'll talk about it next time probably. So I don't know. I think he could be fantasy relevant. But if the Browns are gonna be the Browns, then I don't think he probably will be that good, because teams are just gonna wise up to it unless they start using gimmicks with him or something.
Right.
I don't know.
So they're playing the Jets, right?
I think the Bills.
The Bills.
That's rough.
Sit the Browns defense though. Now that they're healthy.
I'm starting them because, again, this is another I don't really have a choice moment where I have the Patriots in some leagues. I wasn't able to get
you poor thing.
Yeah. Oh, just got an update. Jacoby Brissett is out for the game.
Oh,
no! Do you have him in a league?
I've got him in a 2 QB league. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian Hoyer.
Grab some Brian Hoyer.
No, believe me, there's nobody. They're like the waiver wire in that league.
Hoyer's taken.
Oh yeah.
What?
He was taken 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So yeah, Jacoby's out. I've got to back to the Cleveland thing. Yeah, I've got to start Cleveland in some leagues because New England, I had New England, and then like some of the other good options this week, like Baltimore, Indy, maybe New Orleans, were all taken, and so Cleveland's sort of the next best option. They're at home. The Bills do turn the ball over. Josh Allen throws some interceptions. So I'm not like expecting the Browns defense to like shut them down and, hold them to 3 points or something. But I think it can be a case where they can get some sacks and turnovers against Josh Allen. So I think they're sort of kind of considering all the other options. I'm going to check this as I'm about to say this, but to see kind of how it all stacks out. But I would say they're like right at the turn of being a top 5 option this week.
Wow. Interesting. So do you think with the Bills, do you think Devin Singletary is going to be worth playing then?
Yeah.
If they lock on the wide receivers, Singletary could play.
I think he still has a good day. It looks like they've gone to him. Like a lot of people are going to be so crushed if he all of a sudden just like, if it was a 1 game thing and they just like go back to Frank Gore.
Yeah. Judah suicide watch.
Right. So
here's the thing about defenses is you get points from pick sixes and sacks.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think that the Bills line is good enough that the sacks, they'll probably get 1 or 2, but really what you're counting on there is a pick 6 or 2 from Josh. Oh man, Josh Allen is not above 2 pick 6s. Come on.
I think that's a little extreme.
But see, but say he throws a pick 6, it still sets up. It puts the offense on the field a lot more. So actually, running backs tend to do fine on defenses that give up a lot of points to defense. Right? How's it work on offenses that give a lot of points up to defenses?
Yeah,
I think that's what you mean.
Yeah. I mean, so he's actually been pretty good lately. Josh Allen hasn't thrown any interceptions in the last 3 games, but you look at the secondaries he's gone up against, it's been Miami, Philly, and Washington. So in his first 5 games, he threw seven interceptions in 5 games. So there's some potential there, I think. I mean, on the road, playing on the road in Cleveland. I don't love Cleveland, but
I think the Bills lose this. Of course, I've been betting on the Browns every week and losing.
Lost a lot there. See, here's the thing with the Allen in his last 3 games. Like he beat Miami, which I mean it's Miami, but then Philadelphia. I remember seeing that it was so windy that game. You couldn't throw it farther than 10, 15 yards downfield. So the pass game was really nullified for both teams. And then against Washington, that was Devin Singletary's big game. Like he blew up for over 100 yards and a touchdown. So I feel like almost like they don't tell the whole story just looking at the numbers because Philadelphia conditions were bad and Washington Singletary came on. So I think Cleveland, he still might be all right. I mean, I'm still starting him in 1 league because my only other option on like the waiver wire is Daniel Jones and Kyle Allen. So I'm still going with him. Even if he does have a hard game this week, he's got Miami next week. So just hang on to him at the very least. I'm still starting him though against Cleveland. I think I definitely don't see Cleveland getting 2 pick 6s this week. I think it's more probable that we see Singletary go off, but I don't think Allen's going to be too bad.
He's just like 17 points. It's just like an automatic 17 points for him every week. It seems like no matter what, because he's got a rushing floor and, he may only throw for 175 yards and a touchdown, but because of that rushing floor, it's just like, it seems like more often than not, he ends up at like exactly like 17.5 points or something. So,
the only game he hasn't scored under 17 was against New England. Then everything else has been 17 plus.
And he's due for a big game. Remember my bet with John Brown. Don't be forgetting that bet now.
Who do we make the bet with? John Brown versus who?
It was
John Brown versus Ridley. Calvin
Ridley.
Oh, okay. That'll be interesting.
I think he's going to connect with a couple. Who was it the other day? Winston had 4 interceptions and still had 21 points in a 4-point per passing touchdown league. So look, a couple interceptions are not going to ruin his day. He will have interceptions. You could probably bet on it, but I think he could still have a good 30-burger day.
Wait, you're talking about the game against Seattle? Winston didn't throw a pick against Seattle.
No. It's the one before that.
Tennessee, he only threw 2. He went 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
That is the one before that.
100 yards. That was 5 touchdowns, and he got 17 against Carolina. So
how many interceptions?
5. He didn't break 20.
Okay, but still, he got really close. Maybe it was a 6-point per touchdown.
Okay, 6 point. That's closer. Claudio Jenkins, hey, good to see you. Got
what up, Claudio?
Thomas H has got some more questions for us. Which one of these 3 should I sit? Metcalf against San Francisco, Ridley against the Saints, Mixon against Baltimore. This is easy for me, but I want to hear you guys first.
For me, you start Ridley. Because you figure that Lattimore is going to be on Julio. Yeah, I know Judah doesn't like Ridley, but I guess you roll the dice and start Metcalf and hope that he gets something because Joe Mixon has done a whole lot of mostly nothing this year, and Baltimore's a good run defense. So, yeah, I don't love the DK Metcalf matchup, but I think it's better than Joe Mixon.
Yeah. Judah Buddha, what do you think?
I think you're probably right, but look, man, you got to go with the talent of Mixon, and you never know. This could be one thing I've noticed. So this is going to be Finley's first start, right?
Yep.
One thing I've noticed when it could go either way with these fresh quarterbacks. Sometimes there's no tape on them. And they go mad on their first game or the first game starting, and it could be a huge game. This could be their first win. But then again, it could go the other way. I actually would bet more on it being a big shootout game and Joe Mixon being a big part of the touchdown. He's having a big share of their touchdown equity.
The Bengals are going to score touchdowns?
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, the problem is just like, sometimes you get a rookie quarterback that comes in, and I understand what you're saying. Like I said, there's not tape on him, and he just exceeds expectations or something. But, the whole problem with the Bengals this year hasn't been Joe Mixon or Andy Dalton. It's just, it's been their offensive line. And so, there's nothing, unless he was like a Lamar Jackson type or something, that could really just like scramble and stuff and really kind of change the game script. But short of that, like, I just don't see like, anything that he could do that's really going to be an improvement.
Well, what is Baltimore's pass rush like? I'm looking it up now.
It's not bad. According to Yahoo, they're 24th against the run right now.
No, but what is their pass rush like?
It's not bad.
Can't get that
good
Yahoo.
defense.
Yeah, it's actually they could get to the passer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, this one's really, really easy for me, Sid Mixon. I have him in a couple leagues, and the only reason why I still have him is because he's playing Miami in the fantasy championship. So I'm like, if he's gonna have a game, it's gonna be then. And his schedule has been horrible this entire year for fantasy. He hasn't had a green matchup yet, according to Yahoo standards. This is like, all of these are risks, But would I rather take a risk with DK Metcalf with Seattle's offense? Would I rather take a risk with Calvin Ridley in a Falcons offense going to be throwing the whole game? Or do I want to take a risk with Mixon with a quarterback who hasn't started yet against Baltimore's defense, who's really good against the run?
They're not really good against the run. They're like
they're really good against the run.
No, in their last 4 games, they've been mediocre.
Okay, they're really good against the run when they play Cincinnati because everyone is good against the run when they play Cincinnati, pretty much.
But remember, there could be a letdown game for the
Ravens
for Baltimore. Like they
already had that.
They just came off of having probably the biggest win of their lives. There may be. I'm a little worried about Lamar here, because historically this has been a letdown spot. Like you give it all against a team, and then the next week you come back and you're not so hot.
Yeah, maybe for Lamar it could be a little bit of a letdown game, but like defensively, those NFC North games, it just feels like the defenses always just come to like hurt the other team, Yeah. So whether it's like Pittsburgh,
AFC North.
Yeah. Or I'm sorry. Yeah. AFC North, whether it's Pittsburgh, Baltimore, or Baltimore and Cincinnati or Cleveland, it just feels like it's just so like personal to it. It feels like a throwback, to like 80s NFL or something. So, it's just, I don't know how you really play. I mean, I guess the one, positive, you could say for Mixon is, the last game against the Rams, I think it was, is he finally had something resembling a decent day. So if you want to like hang your hat on that and say, okay, that wasn't just the Rams, it was like it's the start of Baltimore, like kind of getting their line together or something, maybe you want to, if you're really a believer in that, I guess you could throw him in over Metcalf, but
that's
not for me. Yeah, not for me.
Josh Twinter, Thomas H. will get to the other questions because you admit they're not fantasy relevant and they are Bears questions, so I'm going to wait.
Some bias coming in here.
Josh Twinter. Actually, real quick, Claudio says either Ingram or Lamar will get 40 points. I mean, the Bengals won't be able to catch either. Yeah,
probably.
That's a good point.
I've got both of them, and I've got in a couple of leagues, and I've got both of them in one league together.
Oh wow!
And I need to win that one, so they can get 40 points each for all.
One of them's gonna
So that's interesting. What if they just get way ahead in the first quarter, in the first half? And they just go on autopilot the rest of the way.
I'd love to see Cumberland versus Georgia Tech and then 222-0 again with Baltimore Cincinnati. I'd love for that to happen.
I mean, that's another way the Bengals could get a lot of fantasy relevance, fantasy production.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like you're like searching too hard for a path to Mixon giving you points against Baltimore here. I mean, it's not. Again, I mean. It's DK Metcalf against San Francisco, so you can make an argument for it, But
yeah. All right, Josh Twinter. Sorry about the little deviation there. Bell, Mack, or Singletary needs to. Bell worries him with the injury. Oh boy, that's a tough one.
That is tough. Oof.
I hate to sit Bell, but I would in this case. I think Mack and Singletary are going to do really well this week. Bell is just such a question mark. He's just on a terrible, terrible, terrible team. I mean, I always say follow the talent, and Bell's got the talent. But my goodness, and I mean, I think if he was fully healthy, I would take Bell, but I don't know. It's kind of scary the way they're talking about him. Like, oh, he's fine, but he's going to be on a limited snap count. Like what?
Have they said that?
Yeah.
Where'd you see that?
I'll find it for you while you guys talk.
All right, Jared, you want to go?
Yeah. I think it does depend on like Bell's situation. Man, that's hard to sit him.
Yeah.
If it is a limited snap count, then I mean Singletary and Mack both have good matchups. I think you probably do just roll with them. if they come back and say, no, no restrictions for Bell. Yeah, he's banged up, but he's going to get his full workload. I don't think I could sit him. I think I'd probably have to maybe sit Singletary, just because I don't know. I mean, he had a great game last week, and he's been doing well off of limited touches. But I don't know for sure. I mean, he went from 7 carries being his most to 20 carries last week against Washington. So was that I think if they're smart, they'll keep giving him that. But again, NFL coaches do weird things, and so I don't feel. I feel pretty good that they'll go with him going forward and give him 15 plus touches. But if all of a sudden, he was back to like, a 50-50 split with Frank Gore, it wouldn't shock me, just because, I mean, like I said, NFL coaches, they do weird things. They outthink themselves sometimes. So were you able to find it on Bell?
Yeah, I think I was confused. He was on limited practice. So maybe I saw the limited and my mind went to limited snap count, because I can't find anything about him being on a limited snap count.
Okay.
So that encourages me about Bell.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that. So, I mean, unless they do come out and say that, I'd go Bell and Mac. But again, I would wait like up until game time to see like what they say, how that's trending, and then pick him or Singletary for me based on that.
Yeah. I think Mac is the only lock for me here, because Mac's playing Miami, and that's the worst run defense. So that's an easy go for me. And I mean, Singletary's playing the Giants Singletary's playing Cleveland. Bell's playing the Giants. I mean, neither of them have. I mean, the Cleveland doesn't. They're bottom 10 in run defense, but the Giants don't have a bad one. I think it goes into the thing like Bell is the only thing the Jets really have right now, which could either lead to him being the only person who does well, or the Giants stacking the box against them, and Jamison Crowder does something because he's apparently the number 1 there. So I think Mac's the only lock, and I agree with Jared. Wait till Sunday morning, figure out Bell or Singletary, but Singletary might be a risk I'm willing to take there, honestly, if I'm being entirely honest.
Well, and I will say, like, the tough thing about this is a tough question, because like I can also see a scenario here where Mac finishes like a distant third to both of these other guys. Because they're, if teams, again, like the Colts are down to their backup quarterback, their top 2 receivers, their top 3 receivers are out, because Hilton, Funchess has been gone pretty much the whole year, and then Paris Campbell are all out. And I could, Miami, like Judas said, Miami's gotten somewhat better,
it's
and
magic.
They held Le'Veon Bell. Like, Bell had 66 rushing yards against him last week, which I mean, he makes a lot of his living catching passes. Marlon Mack doesn't catch passes, and so if they hold Marlon Mack to 70 yards and he doesn't get in the end zone, then I can see a scenario. So I think you have to go with him because it's the Dolphins. The Colts are at home, and they're probably going to, just do everything they can to try to make this a Marlon Mack game. But it wouldn't shock me if somehow Singletary and Bell ended up with both more points. So,
okay. Yeah. Judah Buddha, you got any last words on that?
It's interesting. DVOA has Cleveland and Baltimore like pretty much similar defenses. They're 21 and 22. So DVOA is defense adjusted value over average. I don't know. I think I'm starting to lean now towards just Bell and Mac. I don't know. That's a tough one. It really does depend on what we hear about Bell. I love Singletary. I really think though that Mac, skill-wise, it's Bell, Mac, Singletary. Like that's the talent in a tree. But a situation does play in here.
See, I think the talent tree goes Bell. Maybe I haven't seen enough of him, but maybe Bell, Singletary, Mac, because I mean, again, Mac doesn't catch passes.
Oh, pass catching, yeah.
And like the Colts have at minimum a top 5 offensive line, maybe a top 2 or 3 offensive line. And so I don't know. I mean, I think it might be just based on talent, but I mean, obviously there are a lot of other factors, but.
So yeah, I think who said is Thomas H? I think he said is he in a, oh, it doesn't matter. PPR, is he in a,
oh, no. This is Josh Twinter.
Oh, Josh Twinter. I guess it matters big time if he's in PPR.
Yeah. I think I always, my advice is always based on like assuming you're like half point PPR, and half point is, I mean, it's halfway between standard and full PPR. So that's what I'm always giving my advice based on. And if it's wrong or people get mad, well, then like you should have said what type of format it was. So.
Blame it on that. Here's the interesting thing. I went back and checked who the Browns' last 4 games were against and how the rushing game went against them. So first they played the 49ers, who Brady and Coleman both got nearly 100 yards. Brady got over 100 yards, and both of them got a touchdown. And they went against Seattle. Carson rushed for over 100 yards and a touchdown. Then the Patriots run game did whatever the Patriots run game does, and then they gave up 100 yards to Phillip Lindsay and a touchdown on only 9 rushes.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good rush defense at all. That's not good. Like when I look at their most recent games, that's painfully bad. They're giving up a lot of yards, even like run games with decent offensive lines.
Yeah, it's a little deceptive though, because the Breda had like 70 yards.
Yeah, but then they still gave up 100 yards to Coleman after that.
They're not giving. Yeah, they're giving up long runs, which is interesting. I don't know how you account for that. They're not giving up like a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, they are. Every game that I just listed except the Patriots one, because the Patriots run game is questionable. All of them had at least one rushing touchdown in it, and all of them were the main rusher.
So, I mean, the other thing to consider here is like they've played 4 of these last 5 games on the road. Mm-hmm. And the one game that they did play at home was against Seattle. So they also have to account for, not only Russell Wilson throwing the ball, but Russell Wilson, scrambling around and running the ball. Which, I mean, to a certain extent, they have to do that with Josh Allen too. But he's just not as, he's not Russell Wilson as a passer. So, so again, it's one of these things where there's always so many different things that go into NFL games and why this happened or why that happened. I think them being back home, back home and against, an offense that doesn't really have a ton of weapons, despite whatever, Judah makes John Brown into in his mind.
You watch.
Shots fired. By the way, Josh Twinter said his league is standard for these.
That makes a big difference. Max Singletary. Max Singletary.
Oh, Max Singletary.
Claudio goes Max Singletary.
Because you're not going to get any catches for Bell.
You're not going to get catches, but he's still. I mean, it's not like he's getting a ton of like 2-yard dumps. I mean, he's still like racking up, receiving yards. It does make a difference though. Gosh, yeah. Let me see what yardage wise he's got in the last couple of weeks.
Hasn't been good.
And
who are we talking here? Bell?
Oh, Bell, yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah, based on if it is standard, then yeah, I would go, I guess, Singletary then.
Mack and Singletary.
Yeah.
There you go. Now I know we have another question up here. Oh, here we go. Ray Gibson, thanks for tuning in. Asks full PPR flex, Derrick Henry, Jamison Crowder, or Odell. Pick one.
Crowder.
Derrick.
Yeah.
Derrick for me.
Yeah.
Crowder. Derrick Henry. Who are they playing? They're playing
the Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Oh yeah, then definitely Derrick Henry.
No. I think Derrick Henry is going to struggle considerably because of the pass rush. Like if there's one thing that the Chiefs can do on defense, it's get behind the line fast. And Derrick Henry needs a lot of room to run. I think he might have a touchdown, maybe even a long touchdown, but he's going to struggle in this game.
Well, if we're going for a full PPR flex, then if we're talking about a flex,
he never
spot,
catches the ball. He never catches the ball.
No, but if he breaks off one long touchdown, let's just say 50 yards, that's already 12 points.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to do that. I mean, you could gamble on that. That'd be cool. But I think I'm going OBJ.
What?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
Explain yourself. Explain, please.
I mean, one of the best wide receivers in history against
a good pass defense.
Or Henry. No, look, OBJ is going, like, whether they force feed him or not, he is going to have at least a decent game this week.
Well,
in the same way that Derrick Henry can break away for an 80-yard touchdown, so can OBJ. And you would be much more. I'll say statements. I would be much more angry at myself if I left OBJ on the bench with an 80-yard touchdown rather than Derrick Henry with, like stuffed at the line a million times and then a 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah, Judah just has an irrational hatred for
Derrick Henry.
For Derrick Henry, yeah. and it's interesting that he says that he never catches the ball, which he doesn't catch it a lot, but it's funny that comment comes up this week because last week against the Panthers, he had 3 catches for 36 yards and a receiving touchdown. So he does.
He rarely catches the ball.
Yeah, but he can. Mm-hmm. He can. So, I mean, it's just OBJ's got to go up against a bad defense for me to play him, and I can't play him anymore because I've traded him away in every league. So I don't like the next couple of games for him. Buffalo and Pittsburgh both, and then he gets a little stretch where he gets Miami, then Pittsburgh again, and then Cincinnati. There's some opportunity if you've still got him to play him later in the season, but I can't trust him. Again, it's not. It's basically with OBJ. It's kind of like with Mixon or something. It's not that I don't trust the talent. It's just the issue in Cincinnati is the offensive line, which is what a running back is supremely dependent on, and the multiple issues in Cleveland are everything from just general dysfunction to Baker Mayfield not getting the ball out quick enough to offensive line to play calling. And it's just one of those things where, like, how many strikes do I need before I count somebody out? And OBJ's just got too many unless they're playing a bad team.
Okay. Claudio has an entire rant about Odell, and he's saying Odell against White, the best corner this year. He's been leaving him on the bench the whole season, and he's playing with Baker Mayfield, and it's just screens and short passes. Judah Buddha, how do you answer that?
Bet on talent. Like, eventually talent. Eventually, talent will overcome these situational things. Situations change so fast in the NFL. You're not going to be able to, like, easily, like, the top team can become the worst team. I've seen it happen so many times. And the worst team can become the top team. They get things straight. They get things right. Situations change so fast in the NFL. Bet on talent. OBJ is the best talent in that group of Derrick Henry, Crowder, and Odell Beckham Jr. That's just how I play fantasy football.
Okay. I go Henry. Yes, the Chiefs have top 5 sacks in the league, but they're also giving up 139 rush yards a game.
And pass rush doesn't really equate to stopping. I mean, I understand what you're thinking about getting into the backfield, but it's a different setup. And sometimes
it is when you have a good running back, but Derrick Henry needs to get going in order to get his speed going. But and there's going to be 3 men already on top of him by the time he's like,
no.
But I don't know. Like, I haven't watched the Chiefs enough to see like exactly where their pass rush comes from. If it comes from, sometimes a really good pass rush can make things easier for a running back. I mean, they can, if they're coming from the edges and he's running it up the middle and there's nobody there. So I think that's just, I think that's an oversimplification and like a generalization that doesn't really. I
think that would matter more if Mariota was playing, because Mariota would you'd have to spy Mariota. You'd be worried that he'd be running. So I think that may be a consideration, but Fitzpatrick's not going to, not Fitzpatrick.
Tannehill's not going to. He's been outplaying Mariota.
No, but he's not going to run.
That's all right.
I mean, I don't know what he's doing let's see what he's doing while he's been starting for Tennessee, because like in Miami, like he was an athlete. I mean, he is an athlete and he would run. Okay. So last week he ran for 38 yards and a touchdown. So I like those narratives. Like Derrick Henry can't catch the ball. He got 36 yards and a touchdown last week. Ryan Tannehill can't run the ball. He ran for 38 and a touchdown.
That is genius.
All right. I will bet you Derrick Henry versus OBJ. Most points.
I don't really want to. Like that one, I don't really want to take because it's not like a slam where I feel confident that Calvin Ridley will outscore John Brown the rest of the year. On this one, I don't know for sure, but like given the choice, like I feel better about Henry, but I don't want to it's like betting an NFL game. Like I never want to bet an NFL game because I don't know for sure what's going to happen, but I have a guess.
This Doctor Strange going through 14 million possibilities.
Right. and Cleveland wins one of them, and OBJ scores a touchdown in one of them.
Exactly.
That's why I bet on talent.
What's it called? Claudio says that he totally agrees talent over everything, but as a wide receiver, he's entirely dependent on Mayfield and the cornerback he's playing. I throw that in too. And talent over everything applies more to quarterbacks and running backs. Yeah, I could get with that.
Yeah, I
makes sense.
I just the talent over everything thing is not my philosophy
mantra.
And I think
for sure it's not. You're like the opposite.
Right.
You're like situation over everything.
Usually situation. Like I mean, ideally, it's like you've got your little Venn diagram circles here. You've got like talent, and you've got like schedule, and you've got game script, and you've got like coaching, and you want to like find that little sweet spot.
Yeah.
But if you have to pick one of them, then a lot of times I will go with the situation. And I think there's just a lot of this year in particular. There's a lot of reason to go with. I mean, like look at again Mixon. Look at Juju, who's I don't think anybody questions that Juju's talented, but with Mason Rudolph trying to throw him the ball, I mean, 3 of the last 5 games he's like at like 3.1 points or fewer. So yeah, I'm not a talent. I believe in talent when it's on the same roster. Like if 2 guys are trying to win a position, but in terms of fantasy, well, and even then, like not always, because I mean, people will just, like I
was gonna say, well, what happened with Rojo?
Frank Gore over. Well, I believe that's how it should be. I think that's how it should be on the same roster. But again, like coach nonsense will get in the way of that. But when it comes to fantasy points. It's not just one guy. It's not like a boxing match 1-on-1. It's, you've got 22 guys on the field plus schemes and everything else. So,
yeah. So you've got talent over everything. You've got statistics over everything, and you've got everything combines into something else. So there we go. Ryan N, thanks for joining us today. He said, "What's up, guys? I decided to go with my gut and trust Robbie Anderson over Tyrell." Yeah. That's probably going to work out for you.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll work out.
I think not playing Tyrell was a good option.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll see. We'll see what Robbie does. But yeah, Tyrell, I had Tyrell for a week or two and then dropped him. He just doesn't get follow. It's follow the targets, and he doesn't get.
He was getting targeted though during that game. It just like he had some pretty nice targets. He just didn't catch some really important ones,
which would be very instrumental to playing the game and doing well in the game as well.
Yeah, that's why I don't care about targets.
Well, he got 5 targets that entire game.
I mean, that's pretty good. What was the target
For
share?
number 1 wide receiver? That's terrible.
It is not good.
What was the target share, though? What was the target share?
I don't know, but it doesn't matter if they're giving the ball to Josh Jacobs like 2/3 of the time. Like it doesn't matter, So
but they weren't giving. I mean, you watched that game. They weren't giving Jacobs the ball very much. Actually, he did a lot with a little.
Right. Yeah, it was, but it was still a lot of like they're pretty careful with Derrick Henry. They don't. Or not Derrick Henry, Derek Carr. They don't do a lot of, throwing the ball down the field. He'll dump off to those running backs. Waller, although Waller
didn't get targeted that much. Who was he throwing it to?
I know. It seemed like he didn't throw the ball to anybody.
Like it disappeared.
Because you sit there and think about that game.
Watching the game, I thought he was basically the large part of the targets were going to Tyrell.
So I think part of the thing was like San Diego, or not San Diego, Los Angeles did keep the ball for long stretches of time
because they were running it a lot.
Yeah, they were running it. So I think Oakland, I don't know what the play count was, but I think maybe Oakland just didn't, run as many plays. But yeah, I mean, Tyrell, since he's been back, like even prior to his injury, it was deceptive because he was getting a touchdown in every game. And overall, like his yards weren't that much. His targets never went above 7. And then since he's been back, it's been 6, like 4 or 5. So I don't think he's a great play except against bad defenses. And we talked about Robbie some, I think, on the Tuesday night podcast, where it's kind of like you're going to get 25 yards and no touchdown, or you're going to get 125 yards and a touchdown. And so, the temptation is like, surely he won't have 2 bad games in a row against bad defenses. But like Sam Darnold too just looks terrified right now. Like is he even going to be willing to throw the ball down the field? So
are they at home though?
They are at home, and Sam Darnold's much better.
Yeah, he is much better. So
that would, if Robbie's, I don't have an argument against playing Robbie if he's your best option. And he may be, but it's just it's going to be boom or bust. So
yeah, should be interesting. Claudio does make a good point that it seemed like an entire Jacobs game, and then he only had 52% of the snaps.
No, I mean, if you're watching that game because as a Jacobs owner, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Why is Washington getting the ball?
Right.
I was like, oh, good run. What? Washington?
Yeah. Yeah.
Stephen Drakes asks us, Tyler Boyd or Jamal Williams full PPR?
Jamal Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the safest route, but that's a tough one.
Yeah, even he's boom or bust because he only gets like 4, 5, 6 catches a game.
That's the thing. He's not getting lately. He hasn't been getting carries. It's been like I think 3 carries that last game or something. And he's Jamal Williams is like I don't know what it is about the Williams, but the Williams, like they don't get that many yards. They just get touchdowns. And so Jamal Williams is the Tyrell Williams of running backs. And so I feel like that's going to dry up one of these days. And it's going to be, because his stat line is misleading, but Tyler Boyd, rookie quarterback against the Ravens. I would just hope that Jamal Williams' deal continues for one more week. And Carolina's not good against the run. So I would go with him again. Yeah.
I don't know if they're not good against the run, but I think that against pass catching running backs, they are a little bit more vulnerable.
Pass catching running backs like Derrick Henry.
Yeah, right.
Are they going with the running quarterbacks like Ryan Tannehill?
Real pass catching running back. So Carolina is actually against the run. DVOA, they're ninth. So that's not too
ninth best or ninth worst?
Best.
So they've given up the 5th most points to running backs.
Oof.
It's hard to turn that 5th most fantasy points.
Yeah.
So.
But
that's the hard part about fantasy is drawing the line between what NFL is going on and what fantasy is going on, because the statistics could say one thing, but your fantasy points are going to say another thing.
Well, that's why going just by statistics can really get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, that's unless you look at fantasy statistics.
I mean, like Derrick Henry. So like the last 2 weeks for Carolina was Derrick Henry 23 plus points last week. The week before that, it was Tevin Coleman with like 36.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with them, or the DVOA and everything, but running backs are tearing them up. And so
those two though, like really skewed the statistics.
Right. But part of what you have to also look at is like the trend of things too, you know?
Yeah. Ryan N says, if he doesn't want to trust Robbie, he still has Jarvis Landry. And he's heard his matchup in the slot this week is nice, figuring that Buffalo's cover guys are going to be on the outside. Oof, interesting.
Nah, I guess I maybe would go still Robbie. I mean, Jarvis, you know, well, the last 2 weeks he's gotten he's gotten double-digit targets.
Yeah.
And his yards haven't been crazy. 65 and 51 yards. He did get a touchdown last week.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Jarvis has a much safer floor. So
is this PPR?
That's a good point. Let me see if he says.
Yeah, that's a good question.
If it's PPR, I'd go Landry. Robbie
doesn't say yet. Doesn't say.
In standard though, like Robbie's gonna get 2 touchdowns with 2 catches, you know?
Yeah. So I think that's right. Look, I'm sorry. I'm pretty much done with Landry in most of my leagues. Just because he was so frustrating for the first 6 weeks. I actually ended up trading for Landry in 1 week and gave away Josh Gordon. And I was like, 2 weeks later, I was like, I shouldn't have done that. And then it realized, it doesn't really matter that much, but it should be interesting. And I'm the only one looking at the screen. It's both of you are looking at phones right now. So
I got a trade offer. So I was
fun.
So I got offered DeAndre Hopkins and Damian Williams in exchange for David Johnson and Darren Waller.
Ooh.
And I'm tempted. Darren Waller's my backup tight end, so I don't really need him. And David Johnson, is he going to split carries?
True.
I don't know. I think I may take that.
Yeah, I would do that.
I mean, and Johnson's basically my 3rd running back too. So my other 2 running backs are Carson and Melvin Gordon.
Do it. I would do it.
I think I'm going to do that.
DeAndre Hopkins and who?
The other one is Damian Williams. So I mean,
it could work out, but
it could work out. But I don't know. I got to look at this a little bit more while we're talking. Yeah.
Ryan, and by the way, does say that his league with Robbie and Landry's PPR.
Yeah, so that Landry's going to get more catches.
Yeah. Also, Jared Claudio Jenkins says you should easily take it. You should easily take that one and try to flip Williams for Singletary.
Well, the trade deadline's today, and so that's another thing too. Is like we touched on this Tuesday night some. If there's anything else we want to touch on that at some point, is trade deadline's today. So I've been like a busy little squirrel, like stashing nuts for the winter or something. I've been like trying to like stash good players for the fantasy playoffs without a whole lot of success. Most of it's just been like people with like 5 stud running backs and no receivers turning down my offer of like, hey, would you like a receiver? I mean, like there's a guy in one league, he's got James Conner as his number 2 running back. He's got no third option. Like he's gonna have to play like I don't even like an Alexander Madison or something. I've been trying to give him Jalen Samuels, and he just like will not take him for anything reasonable.
Wow.
And Connor's probably going to miss next week too because they play Thursday. So he was ruled out pretty fast.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not pretty fast, but I mean,
and he hasn't gotten a full week of practicing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he went from being limited to not practicing at all, and so he was already doubtful by like Thursday or something, so I don't think he's going to turn around and play Thursday. And this guy's in the middle of the playoff hunt, just won't take, nah, I don't want Jalen Samuels, won't give you anything reasonable for it, so people are weird.
So his running back house is burning down. This is fine. I don't need Jalen Samuels. This is fine. Ryan N says he's stacking people's handcuffs right now. He's got Drake and Madison. A Cook owner held Madison for 10 weeks, dropped him, and expected no one to pick him up, and he did. Wow. That's not bad, I don't think, because Cook has had an injury history. So I don't think that's a bad play, picking him up after some guy held on to him for 10 weeks.
Yeah.
That works out, I think.
I'm still just looking through my trade here. The other thing, too, is like not knowing what David Johnson, like now that they've got Kenyon Drake, are they going to split carries or what? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. But guess who's already splitting catches?
Not DeAndre Hopkins.
No, definitely not. He's getting.
Yes, he is, dude.
He isn't.
He has not gotten the share. Well, he's getting the lion's share, but he hasn't gotten the share that we expected him to get all season.
He didn't earlier in the year. His big thing this year has been like the touchdowns haven't been there as much.
Yeah. Right.
So the last 4 weeks he's gotten back to being DeAndre Hopkins the last 4 weeks. 12 targets, 13 targets, 11 targets. So so what's up?
That's Hops right there.
Yeah. So 48 targets.
His name is Nuke.
48 targets the last 4 weeks, and he's turned that into let's see, what is that? 37 catches and 2 touchdowns in that time. He's gone over 100 yards twice. So he's getting back to being more of the DeAndre Hopkins that we know. The other thing too is his playoff schedule, and this is a team that's pretty well locked into the playoffs for me. And his playoff schedule is the Titans and the Bucks. So, So I accepted that deal. So
Ryan N says David Johnson just got traded in his league for Jamal Williams and Golden Tate. He feels like DJ's worth more. What do you think?
Yeah.
But people are scared. People don't know, like, we don't know what this situation is going to be. People are worried that it's going to be like a 3-way split between Drake and Johnson and
Edmonds.
Chase Edmonds. Yeah. Thank you. So I don't think it's going to be that dramatic, but I don't know. I don't like, if someone will give me DeAndre Hopkins for him, when I know that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be the unquestioned, number one receiver there, but no, not for Jamal Williams and Golden Tate. Somebody ripped off. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a scenario where those guys do end up being better, but I wouldn't take the chance.
Always a scenario. There's always a scenario. There's a scenario where the Browns run the table and get to the playoffs. He's worth.
I don't think there's much.
Yeah, there's a scenario where, like, if we want to go and look at like all the wide receivers who have done better than like Juju and OBJ this year, like, I mean, guys that are just like, who is that?
That's why I worry about Hopkins, is because of the infinite sadness of wide receivers, man. There are just like a ton of wide receivers that, like, when I'm going to the waiver wire, there just feels like a glut of wide receivers, but it's like a desert for any kind of running back action.
Yeah. I mean, that's not exactly wrong. But this is, I've got on that team where I took him, I've got.
You said he was already on your bench, so.
Johnson was my third running back, so he was basically my flex. And so my receivers were Lockett and Godwin, and then my other two running backs were Melvin Gordon and Chris Carson. And then I also have Jalen Samuels. But so it really doesn't, unless there's an injury, it really doesn't matter for me there. Like if I've got a running back or a,
Well, I think it's timely for you too, because Lockett could be hurt.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, he's questionable.
He got a weird ankle thing on Friday. So yeah, I mean, I think that ends up being a pretty good trade for you. You got a lot of running backs.
Yeah. Okay, that looks like that's pretty much most of the questions right now. Pretty sure most of them. So
we scared everybody off.
Oh boy. Oh wait, here we go. Claudio does say the only problem with Hopkins is that his ADOP is significantly lower than last year, and he's not running longer go routes.
Yeah. Yeah, they're trying to shorten down some of that because they don't want to get Deshaun Watson killed. But again, for me, like that team's going to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
he's got the Titans and the Bucks. Just give me that all day versus not knowing if David Johnson's going to be splitting carries or what. So.
Ryan N says he's got his old friend Rojo back off of waivers, so that's good.
Someone stole him from me.
Wait.
Oh, did you too, or was it just me?
I have him in a couple leagues, so I may have taken.
It's amazing in like all in all the leagues with you guys have him, and I know.
That is funny. Judah's been talking him up all year, and then drops him. Like this was our plan all along. Like AJ and I actually just talked privately behind the scenes. And like, all right, we're gonna both go in on this and just try to convince Judah that Rojo sucks. We think he'll be awesome later in the year, but we'll tag team him. We'll talk him into it. We'll claim him, and you just played right into our hands on this.
There you go. You fell right into our trap.
Most places I had to make a decision between holding on to Singletary or Rojo, and I just felt like Singletary was better.
Yeah, I think so. I think the one thing, I mean, and really, like, I don't even love Rojo's regular season schedule. I got him because like he gets the Lions in week 15, and if I've got a team that I'm pretty confident is going to the playoffs, then man, that's a tasty RB2 or flex matchup there.
Yeah. Which Claudio does ask, would you rather have Mixon or Rojo rest of the season?
Rojo.
I'd have to say Rojo at this point.
The one like saving grace for Mixon is like if you do get to your championship game,
you get Miami.
You get Miami. They play the Dolphins, and so you could deploy him there.
Yeah, I kind of agree because even though Rojo doesn't have the best schedule either, he's playing in an offense which could be defined as functioning. And we don't know how the Bengals are going to play out. And Claudio, I know you had mentioned earlier in the comments that they keep using Giovanni Bernard in the weirdest of situations too. So yeah, I'd rather have Rojo the rest of the season, unless something drastic happens in Cincinnati this week. I still want Rojo. I think Judah Buddha, we already know his answer.
Oh yeah, Rojo all the way. Although
you don't have him anywhere.
I have him a couple places. I had him everywhere before, but
oh boy, Ryan N says he's playing his opponent's Dalvin Cook going this week, so he's trying to use Madison as trade bait. Ooh.
It's an interesting. I've heard some discussions on the Madison handcuff, and there's some people have some good points about how Madison is really good spelling Cook, but without Cook in there, he wouldn't be as good as a 1-to-1 handcuff as everybody thinks. That he's actually like a different kind of player that needs that sort of like variation in the defense. He's not the just smash forward, north-south beast that Cook is, and that there might be a lot more platoon type running back option. I mean, not options, but they would bring in Boone and they bring in so.
I think part of it is Minnesota's scheme, like that zone blocking scheme that they've introduced. But I don't know about if he had more workload, if it how much it would like his productivity would get reduced. I mean, people were thinking the same thing about Austin Eckler. Like, oh yeah, he's fine, like spelling Melvin Gordon, but what's he going to be as the full-time guy? And he did well. So I don't know. I think it's hard to. I think it's hard to forecast that unless it's like a little tiny speedy guy, that's just in there for a handful of plays. Like obviously somebody like that couldn't handle it. But
yeah, he says he's trying to trade Eckler. And speaking of Eckler, Ryan says, "Hello." He says he's trying to trade Eckler, who's already played and Madison, for Allen Robinson.
He's trying to trade Cook owner this week.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what was the deal again?
Eckler and Madison for Robinson.
I mean, I guess if you need him for this week, lost AJ. I guess if you need Robinson for this week or something, but I mean, like, or if you just need a second wide receiver, I mean, Robinson's got a couple of good matchups with the Lions and the Giants, but the whole Mitch Trubisky thing is pretty shaky.
Yeah. I just traded Allen and somebody else, I can't remember, for Jacobs. And
that's not bad.
Okay.
Yeah. I was the guy said I think originally I offered him John Brown and he's like, no, I'd rather have Allen Robinson. I was like, big Allen Robinson.
Well, Robinson can blow up for some big games.
Yeah,
he's had a couple decent. He said it probably would secure him a win because he's starting Robinson against the Lions. Ooh, fun.
I will take John Brown against. You bet me John Brown against Allen Robinson, no problem.
I would almost be tempted to take that one this week. They've got Detroit. Chicago's got Detroit.
Yep.
Right.
His replacement would either be Brady or someone who's questionable off his waivers.
Ooh, Brady's gonna go off this week.
But he's questionable. He's questionable this week.
Oh, he's always questionable. Brady is always questionable.
Speaking of Allen Robinson, though, I've been delaying the inevitable, and Thomas Heffron, Thomas H., who probably isn't even watching, asked us an hour ago, how much would someone have to pay you to be Mitch Trubisky? So I'm going to take a walk.
He loves his Bears so much.
I've got a 9-0 team. I've got an 8-1 team. You can pay me. You can pay me to stream him in there. Probably. It wouldn't even be a question of putting him in my lineup because I don't really care if I win that game or a couple of those games. But it would be more of like having to drop somebody for him. That would be kind of the real. The real issue.
I had to drop all the hate or something for Mitch Trubisky.
You know what would be funny though is in a way would be to if you did do that on a really great team, if you just had a really great team and everybody's really impressed with you, man, this guy's really smart, and then all of a sudden one week you just streamed Mitch Trubisky. What? Where did
and he went off.
If he went off.
That would be the best. And last year there were a lot of people that in my leagues that had him this year because he had games last year where he had 25 points.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Claudio's got to go. We'll see you later. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully see you Tuesday. Here's my thing with Mitch Trubisky. So I'm just say this. Look, he has scored in fantasy 20 points twice. Every other game he's played in, he has not put up 10 points. Meaning that if he actually blew up this week, yes, I would look like a genius. But wow. Okay. Yes, I would look like a genius, but pay me. I don't know if you'd have to pay me actual money But okay.
How do you do the thing where you just put it on you?
Stop removing me. I got it. I've got it. Look. Okay. You wouldn't necessarily have to. Okay. Pay me money. Give me like, I don't know, $20 or something like that. Depends on if I'm in a playoff position or not. But if I'm actually streaming him, what I would take is if you gave me someone in a trade, because it's the trade deadline, I would stream Trubisky if you actually gave me someone who I could start. Give me Dalvin Cook. I will stream Trubisky this week. I have my own frustrations with the Bears offense. If he's going to have a good game, it's going to be this week because it's at home in Soldier Field. This is the only time it's actually going to work out against a bad defense, and we're still probably going to lose. So that is that. And I'd need a decent amount of cash for that, but not quite 100 because I'm not that mad. I'm more disappointed.
Okay, here's a theoretical question for you here, AJ. So I'm playing Judah this week.
Oh, okay.
In our league, and he is supremely excited because I have two players who are out, James Conner and Evan Ingram.
Ouch.
And I have, let's see, 5-6 guys on bye. I have 6 guys on bye. So on bye for me, like DeAndre Hopkins, Philip Lindsay, Westbrook, Carlos Hyde, Terry McLaurin. And so I can't even field a full lineup without dropping somebody that's rough. Like
you should drop Rojo.
Right.
No, it's all part of our plan. We need to keep him from him.
And so I'm 9-0, and he's projected to score like 125 points, and I'm right now projected to score like 98 without that other spot being filled. I'm probably not even going to I'm probably just going to be like, all right, you can have that one. It's not worth me dropping somebody I like in order to get it. But he's talking about like, oh, I'm going to relish this win. I'm going to relish this win. So the question is, how much, based on these circumstances, should Judah be able to relish this win, or at some point is it like almost like losing a little bit of self-respect if you relish it too much based on these circumstances?
I don't know if this is where you're going with that, but I was actually thinking when you were talking about it, AJ, I was thinking I should play Mitch Stravinsky against Jared.
Wow.
Do that.
My goodness.
And so he's already like savoring this assumed win. And I'm like, what are you gonna say though? Like if Christian McCaffrey goes off for like
you have C-Mac?
I have C-Mac, so
that's pretty much everything.
So
look, this is where I lose. I'm going to admit to you guys that I have a serious fear of losing this week. Because this is what happens in the NFL is you get in spots like this and you're like, yay, and you get crushed.
Wow. I think this is one of those positions where, and you said like the projection's really close, right?
Oh no. The projection is like 25 plus. It's like 27 points. And so even if I fill my flex spot with a guy who's supposed to get 8 points, then it's still going to be like a 20-point difference, So
here's the thing. I think if Jared wins, he gets to relish in this victory because he's like, I was down by 25 points to projections, and McCaffrey still scored 57 points.
Right.
Or if Judah Buddha wins, I think this is one of those times where it's like week 17 and the the Dolphins show up and we're like, we got the Miami Miracle. We finished 2-14 and beat the Patriots.
You know what?
They weren't starting anyone.
You know what I want to happen is, so I'm going to leave that. I'm probably just going to leave that flex spot open because I don't want to have to, again, drop somebody I like in order to just take a Hail Mary to go to 10-0. I don't care. I really don't care.
Drop Rojo.
Here's what I want to happen though. I want it to be neck and neck going into the Monday night game so that Judah has to drop like his entire bench to pick up like the 4th and 5th string wide receivers for San Francisco and Seattle just to try to beat me in this game. Like, it just ruins his whole season because I've got to have this game. He could play. He just needs like 0.3 points. I've got to get San Francisco's 6th string wide receiver to make sure he doesn't get anything. And it just
I would do something like that.
And then it will be the one guy who catches one pass for a yard, but then fumbles the kickoff return for negative 1.8. That's what's going to happen.
Or no, more realistically, I'm going into Monday and I gotta put Kittel on the bench and drop some guys, and I pick up like, Hollister. So you probably have our Hollister already, and then no, you don't, but. Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen, and then I lose, and Kittle goes off on my bench. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Thomas H has one more question about the Bears, but it's not a fantasy question. So he says that's why I waited this long. I'm not filibustering for time. He says really isn't a fantasy question, but Bears fans are always fantasizing about a new quarterback. Being a Bears fan, I'm not fantasizing. I'm looking at reasonable options. So who should the Bears quarterback be next year? Trade for Andy Dalton or trade for Cam Newton? I'm going to go last. Someone else take this first.
I think if they traded for Cam, that would be pretty interesting. I think they would have if they went run defense heavy with David Montgomery and they had the running option of Cam Newton and the deep threat of Robinson, I'd make for a pretty scary team to play.
I'm inclined to say draft a guy. We've seen Andy Dalton in prime time. I don't know that it really matters what team you put around him. I'm not sure he's ever really going to be able to win big games for you. Cam, the reason that no one is really interested in we got to get Cam Newton back is because Kyle Allen can make throws when he has to. And I mean, Cam is spectacular in some ways, or at least he had been, until he's kind of gotten older and more injured. But you just need, what you need the most is just a guy who can make throws to get the ball to your playmakers. And so, I mean, if those are the only two options, then Cam. But I think they're better off drafting a guy. Just draft a guy and move forward with him. Use a first-round pick. If you have, do they even have a first-round pick, or did they trade it all?
The Raiders got a first-round pick.
Okay. Okay, well, that's a problem. So I guess maybe Cam, but see if you can find a better option than both of those two.
Yeah.
When was the last first-round pick, real quick? When was the last first-round pick a real good pick? It became a real good pick.
What do you mean, for the Bears?
No, for
QB. You mean QB? Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
Was he first round? Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah, he was first round.
Lamar and Watson were both first round.
And Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, yeah,
well, Lamar was, I think, the
30th pick.
I think Lamar was the last pick or next to last pick of the first round. They traded back up into the first round to get him.
Yeah.
Was he in the first round?
He was. He was they traded with the Patriots, I think, and got pick 32 because the Patriots traded up and got Isaiah Wynn.
He was for sure first round.
How crazy is it that the biggest quarterback group is when they had the highest pick?
Say that again.
So the Bears had the highest pick.
Oh,
in a historic year for quarterbacks. Historic.
Yeah.
3 number. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, continue. I've heard this all before at this point.
I know. I'm done.
Yeah.
So what do you think? AJ, what do you think?
Oh, okay. Look, with this, Andy Dalton is going to be a temporary solution. I'll say that. If we get him, he's going to be a temporary solution. Cam Newton, I love him as a player. Last year he looked pretty good, but he's so injury prone, and our current offensive line is not going to be good enough to protect him and keep him healthy. So I mean, if I had to choose between the two, I'd go Cam. Yeah. Especially since, what's his name? Andy Dalton still has 5 years left on his contract. Yeah, he's in a 6-year contract right now with Cincinnati. Yeah, exactly. It's like that changes everything. And then I'd rather get someone like in free agency who's going out this year, like Teddy Bridgewater or Case Keenum.
Yeah,
making a temporary, like, couple year solution. Maybe he turns out to be pretty good. Fix the offensive line in the draft. Maybe get a guy like Jacob Eason later in the draft, and then move on from there. But out of those two, Cam. Out of those three, Tom Brady, because he's in the last year of his contract. That's what I say.
When you weren't here, AJ,
oh boy.
Jared had a theory, or he was saying he'd heard something.
Well, I think you're talking about the thing from Adam Schefter, who was talking about how, Brady's selling his house.
Yeah.
His trainer, who's like his business partner, they run this like TB12 Sports Center thing. That guy is apparently, this is coming from Adam Schefter. That guy's also selling his house. And so the theory was that Brady's leaving New England after this year.
Yeah, I read about that, and I'm like, hey, if he wants to come to Chicago and help us win, I'm all for it. If he wants to,
I would so love to see it. Like, it's not even about like tearing down the Patriots dynasty, although I would love to see that too. But I want to see Brady without Belichick, and I want to see Belichick. Well, we've seen Belichick without Brady.
Yeah.
And they still have a good team. They still, maybe they're not Super Bowl winners, but they're, like making it to the, second round of the playoffs, the AFC Championship or something. But man, I so want to see that.
Ryan N says famous Jameis might be available. He's a free agent in 2020. I have 2 words for you. Jay Cutler. That's what I feel like Winston's going to be. No, I feel like that's what's going to happen, because Winston, like we know, is going to be that guy who can either throw 5 touchdowns or 5 interceptions. That is not what we need right now. We need a quarterback who's going to be a solid, consistent starter. He doesn't need to be I don't think he needs to be a Tom Brady, even though if we got him, that'd be great. But I think Winston's too erratic for the Bears to be able to be Super Bowl contenders at this point, I'll say.
Yeah.
If I were you,
I like your idea of Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, Matt.
Yeah, thanks.
Matt Nagy's supposed to be this play calling genius.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, which I think a lot of people are going, is he? But Sean Payton has proven like the Saints can still win with Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh yeah,
and that's without Alvin Kamara.
Yeah,
and that's really just with having like no real weapons beyond Michael Thomas. So. So if he can do that, if Matt Nagy's such a genius, then he should be able to do the same thing. So that would be a situation I'd like to see in Chicago.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. We need him. We need somebody to get us a winning record. Okay. I'm trying to think. Pretty much everything for now. Judah Buddha, you got to go. You got any final comments for us? Any final words?
You know what? A couple people that you might want to pick up today just to see what they do. Alden Tate, I joked about him earlier. Who knows? Like he is basically an AJ Green clone in physically, and he's had some pretty amazing catches throughout the season. He might be somebody. I'm sure he's out on the waiver wire. He's on most of mine. I wanted to talk about him last week. On Tuesday, and I didn't get a chance. Gage, the guy who came in for Sanu on the Falcons.
Interesting.
Somebody to at least star, if not pick up, could be somebody who really does well as far as just a free Russell Gage. Yeah. So just a free guy off the waiver wire would be. I think he might be good this week if you need like a wide receiver.
Interesting.
Flex, particularly a flex. I think he'd make a good flex.
Okay, Jared, you got anything to finish us off?
Yeah, I'll mention a couple of guys, just kind of preemptive stuff. Well, one of them sort of a preemptive thing, but Like oddly enough, like Curtis Samuel is available in 25% of leagues. I know 25% is not that high, but he was available in like I think 7 of my 17 or so leagues. He's a guy. Two of the last 3 weeks, his point total's gone 21.8, and then 6.6 and 14.9. I mean, you tend to think of that Carolina offense as just being Christian McCaffrey, but DJ Moore is like has a tremendous fantasy floor. Just traded Juju for him in one league, and basically giving you 10 points or so every week, kind of in that 10 to 15 range. And so Samuel gets lost a little bit because he's not been quite as consistent. He's basically like around 6 points, or he gives you, 12, 13, 14, something in that range. But it just amazes me that he's not, 95% owned or something. So I think he's a guy that you can kind of have out there as a, third or fourth wide receiver option. And then another guy is Didi Westbrook, who's only 58% owned. He's, I think part of the thing with him is, he had gotten hurt and then he's on a bye now. But, prior to that, he was getting a lot of targets. Like he had a slow start to the season, but then he got a lot of targets. And then he started having the injury issue and then now the bye. But Nick Foles is coming back, and Jacksonville's schedule is just a cakewalk down the stretch of pass defenses. So, I think Didi really in a way is maybe more valuable than Samuel, because I think he's got a better chance of producing more consistently. And, the whole schedule is just a cakewalk. His quarterback that, sort of preferred him as the preferred option is coming back. So I think it sets up as a good situation, if he's healthy, for him to be maybe a wide receiver 2 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was if I can find the banner, that was the Desperation Station, brought to you by Jared, not the wedding ring, the podcaster. And I think I don't really have anything, except I'm just going to fire one quick question to you guys. I've got a flex spot. David Johnson, David Montgomery, Singletary, Pascal. What's your advice?
Ooh, what'd you say?
Just one.
Just one, yeah.
It's PPR?
No, this is standard.
Ooh.
And the reason why it's them is because I've got Evans and Cooper starting, and I've got Coleman starting right now, Tevin Coleman.
Well, not Pascal.
Okay. I wasn't probably going to do it.
Tampa's run defense is pretty good. And with Arizona, with Johnson being back, is he going to split with Kenyon Drake?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, for me, I think it's Montgomery or Singletary. The Lions are pretty bad against the run.
I think that Montgomery can have a big game here.
Yeah.
I hope so, because it's the Bears offense.
Yeah. I that's who I'd go with. I mean, you're risking the possibility that Matt Nagy inexplicably decides to give him 2 or 3 carries.
Yeah.
But I think like the embarrassment from that game a few years ago, where people were like, "You gave him 2 carries," 2
weeks ago.
I think that's kind of going to, and the fact that Montgomery's done pretty well the last couple of weeks, I think that's going to kind of keep him churning. So I would go with him.
Okay, thank you. Because the only thing about Montgomery that worries me is like, he did well last week, but he got 40 yards. And,
well, it was the Eagles though.
But one of his touchdowns he did get was because the Bears defense got a stop inside the Eagles 20, and the Bears offense right now is averaging 27 yards a drive, which is atrocious. So I mean, I'll see if it works out. I hope it works out. I'm probably going to go Montgomery, and it just went up from 39 to 40%. Chance I win, so I needed that. All right, yeah. We'll see what happens. Right. Oh, Claudio's back. Thanks. He goes Montgomery and Singletary over Coleman. Really?
Oh, I agree with that.
Interesting. Not Coleman against Seattle.
I missed Coleman.
Yeah, I'm starting him right now.
He said he already has him in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I missed that part. That is interesting.
I think it is going to be a Breida game. He says might be a Breida game. I think it will be a Breida game.
Coleman didn't do much of anything against Arizona. Their run defense is actually pretty good, though.
I think Claudio, do you watch Harris football? He must watch Harris football. Wonder if he's still watching.
Yeah, he's still watching. There's a 10-second delay in between us and YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, man, I might be tempted to go with Singletary too over Coleman.
Okay.
That's tight. The only thing is just like if it's, if Buffalo's going to give him majority of the touches, whereas San Francisco, it's going to kind of be, I think, more of a split between Coleman and Breida. I like Coleman. I've traded for him in some leagues. And then I've turned around and traded him and based on like who I could get, because like I had 3 good running backs, ended up with I picked up Rojo. So I'm like, okay, I got him for that playoff game and I needed a wide receiver too. And so I turned around and traded Coleman for Edelman. So so it kind of depends, but I still like Coleman, but it kind of is matchup based. So I'd be tempted to lean like Montgomery Singletary, but it's, it's one of those things where you're really like getting down to predicting a lot of little things here. So,
Yeah. So Judah Buddha just plugged someone else's fantasy football channel. So thanks for helping us out. So,
dude, this is a community. Hey, we got another subscriber.
Oh, sweet.
Who was it? Something, I think it said.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Nicole Sawyer, thanks for
subscribing.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you very much. It helps us. I'm not entirely sure how the algorithm works, but hey, thank you for subscribing. And while Judah Buddha plugs someone else's channel, I'm going to shamelessly plug ours. Be sure to tune into Roto Hackers every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. And every Saturday we'll be here at 10:30, sometimes 10:40 a.m. Central, 11:30, 11:40 a.m. Eastern. My name is AJ Herschel. That over there is Judah Buddha. That over there is Jared. And up in the top left corner is Jared's friend, the StreamYard Duck. Top right corner. I know where my directions are. Top right corner, got the StreamYard Duck. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great fantasy week, y'all.
Stop playing with the duck.
I'm petting it.
It's our duck. It's our mascot.